Give me a second. So, okay, we're live. I see. Okay, can anyone hear me? Can you hear me well? Is it too loud or it's too quiet? Communicate with me, please. So I'll be ready. Okay, I see some pluses in the chats. Okay. So I guess we should start. I guess people will catch up while I introduce myself. Oh, I got some Discord notification. I guess it's come from our school chat, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so why English? Well, I was asked to give a talk in English, so that's why I'm doing it in English. But yeah, we can talk about it in other language if you want. But yeah, currently I'll stick to English. If you want, we can have discussions later in Discord or in Telegram in any other English you want. But for now, we'll stick to English. Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Max. I am working as a full stack developer for 3 years or so. So I have experience in React mostly, and I have a bunch of experience in Next.js, and I fell in love with this technology. So this is why I have been giving talk about it in my company. So it went pretty well. So that is why I was invited to RSSchool to give a talk. So here I am. I will give you the talk about Next.js, why you should use it, what's the advantages of using it, why it's the new standard, and so on and so forth. And I'll try to showcase you the demo of its features. We will talk about pages router mostly. I will not touch on app router because it's not in the scope of your curriculum. So yeah, that is the plan. Let me find my browser so I can show you stuff I need. Okay, I got the slides. Good. Right, and I'll show my screen in a moment. Right about now, I think. Yeah. So, you probably already learned some React for the last 4 weeks. So when you enter the docs, by the way, they are relatively new. When you enter them, the React team out of the straight away just recommends you to use Next.js for your production-ready projects. And regarding Vite that you probably were using, they're kind of hiding it very low in the documents under the drop-down right about here. So yeah, as much as I love Vite, and I really recommend it over some things like Create React App and other stuff, the official docs are hiding Vite below the docs. And well, there are reasons for that. We can discuss it further. But yeah, I'll talk to you about Next.js, why is it recommended as a new standard, and what can it give to you. So we'll talk about what's Next.js. We'll also switch to demo. So let me see the first questions we see in the chat. I see your question, Andrew. So the Next.js page router is not going to be deprecated very soon, I think. They are supporting both of them. Like, it's going to be backwards compatible, but there are not going to be new APIs for it. So you can still freely use it with new versions of Next, but they will not have new features as opposed to App Router that is currently the new standard. But I will touch on later why App Router, well, is not the thing you want to use for now, but is the thing you want to keep your eye on. So, okay, let's switch to the presentation itself. So what is Next.js on its own? So Next.js, as we saw in the docs, is the full stack meta framework for React that was created by the team called Vercel, also known as this triangle company. We love to call it that. So yeah, I throw you one big word here, is a meta framework. You might heard it somewhere else, you might have not, but let me try to explain you what is this word and how I interpret it. So despite most of the discussions, I consider React as a framework, not a library, because framework is something that lets us abstract from something else. So in case of React, we abstract from some stuff in the JavaScript. We don't care about query selectors. We don't attach any events and all of that. But it also has some unopinionated stuff as routing. This is why you've been using React router, and it's not included in React on its own. This is why I still receive some Discord notifications. I'm sorry. Does anyone tag me? I think not. Okay, my bad. Okay, so I think the React is framework because it's an abstraction from JavaScript in relation to events and all of that stuff. And the Next.js is a framework on top of framework. This is why you may see the term meta framework, because it adds upon React stuff like routing, rendering types, SEO optimizations, and all this stuff. So this is the things I'm going to showcase you further down the line. So bear with me. So most notorious features of Next.js, why it's been used over something like Create React App or Create Vite App, is this: is file-based routing. It's 4 different rendering types I'm going to show you, and the approaches to data fetching that you will also see. They also support different stylings. You can use Tailwind, you can use CSS modules, and everything like that. It includes SEO optimizations out of the box. It is something you don't see in default apps. And TypeScript support out of the box. So the thing about App Router is that it was released really, like, not so long ago. It was released on the May 4th this year as a stable, but it got a lot of pushback because the developer experience was, well, farther from great. And it also introduces a lot of new paradigms that are kind of turning the React upside down, and you have to sort of learn it again. So, and I guess this is the reason that many companies are still not willing to bet on App Router, and we can understand it. And this is probably why you will see a lot of projects on Pages Router. So I think Pages Router knowledge is more relevant for you now, but you should also keep an eye on App Router and the changes in React ecosystem, because it's currently has foreseen changes that will probably change a lot in the React and Next.js overall. But you're still safe to use the Pages Router, which we'll talk about today. So yeah, in my opinion, as much as I love cutting-edge tech, App Router is not the point of our talk. It's not a new curriculum, and it's done for a reason. So let's talk about the Next.js features. And the first and the most beloved is rendering. So there are 4 of them. You probably will need to use just you probably need to use just 2 of these, as far as I'm concerned. You need to know about SSG and SSR. The stuff you are doing all this time is client-side rendering. We also talk about what is this, so we can differentiate one from the other. And this is one thing called ISR. We also talk about it too. So, oh, wait a second. The doc has shifted my entire layout. Okay, so let me come back to slide. So as you've been working with Vite, And as I told you, it was mostly client-side rendering. And Create React app, if you ever used it, is also considered client-side rendering because they're capable of doing just that. If you want, you can make Vite support server-side rendering, but it's very low level and not so easy to approach. I know there's lots of buzzwords. I will explain them in a bit. Just hang on with me. We'll talk about it really soon. I will dive in each and every rendering so you'll have clear picture of how they differentiate. Okay, so let me see, because no, there are no more messages in the chat. I want to be sure that everything's working. Okay, so there's no new messages. Okay, let's go down to the demo time. So I will show you the repository, what can we do about it, and I will tell you what to do so we can see how the Next.js works on its own. Okay, so let me see. Okay, so this is a pretty basic project we have here. So the main point of Next.js and how you can see it in action is the file-based router. So we're going to use the pages router. So hence, in the like source direction, you will need to use pages folder to use it. So let's try to dive in how it works. So let me run the command called, let me call command pm run dev. Okay, so let's open the demo. So as you can see, I'm going to showcase you, well, all of these pages, except for the latest one, I guess. So what is client-side rendering that you've been all doing all this time? So client-side rendering is a sort of technique that lets you download the JavaScript on the client and force them to do the heavy job for you. So you just download the JavaScript code. It has like a fetch in it, and what it does is tells the browser to, hey, I need to fetch the data. So in our case, I'm fetching amount of GitHub stars of Next.js repository. So as you can see, the main downside of such approach is when you enter the page, you can see the flash of content. I'm reloading it again and again. So unless you have some sort of loading state, and you always have some sort of flashing content, because it loads and then the action happens. The action, by action, I mean that we get the data. So, and one main downside is SEO. Let's say that you deploy this page to the web, and web robots try to scroll this page. Will they actually see anything or get any useful data? Well, no, because as we can see, let me enable the developer mode. So let me get the console network tab. Okay, so let's refresh the page. So the thing that our robots get is this sort of request. So they get just this HTML, which is really not useful, and it doesn't have any SEO data like the name of the page, the description of it, and so on and so forth. So if you use Next.js by default without any specific methods, it's gonna work in the same way as it does now with Vite. So yeah, if you use Next.js, it doesn't automatically mean that you always are using server-side rendering. No, you still need to do some additional actions to see how it works. I mean, you still need to do additional actions to see its benefits and enable modes of it that you will need to use in your task. So, okay, let's come back to slides again, and let me call you to action. So the thing I want you to do, oh, my bad. The thing I want you to do is try to come to this repository. Let me paste it in chat for you. Next.js repo. Yep. So while you add it, I'm gonna paste the link in the chat. So I'll assume that you're already logged in your RSL account. Not RSL, your GitHub account. So I want you to try and leave a star for it. And while you do this, I will actually build the repo, build the code. So npm build. So I'm building a production-ready variant of the page of this website. So you will easily see how it's different. So let me see. I'll actually start it too for you. Okay, and then let me double check. Small script, yeah. PNP start. Oh, 1 second. I need to see what is using my port. I'm sorry about it. Mhm. Okay, let's try again. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, hello, Zaretsk. This is very weird. Give me a second. Yeah, something using my port. So this is, I cannot start my production ready project. Give me a second. Okay. So let me start again. Yes, that works. Finally. So I'm using a production ready variant. Yes. Okay, cool. So let's come back to slides and talk about what you have just seen regarding client-side rendering. So my client-side rendering code looks like this, and to be honest, it's not very different from what you're probably used to see in your other apps out there. So let me do this. Okay. So it works very similar. I have a useState hook that has stars, and the setter of stars default value is null. So as you always do the data fetching on client-side apps is by using useEffect. I come to page, I just fetch the data, I parse this JSON, then I call it once, then I set the amount of stars, and display it on the page. Pretty similar. I think this is nothing new for you. You can ignore these weird class names if you have never worked with Tailwind. They just add utility classes you don't need to know about, I think. So, as always, you can write a code without any specific Next.js methods, and it's going to behave almost the same as every other template app out there, be it Create React app or Create Tweet app. So for data fetching, we, as always, use useEffect hook and fetch API or any other query library that you like to use. My personal favorite is TenStack query. You get some of the SEO benefits of Next.js. It tries to build sitemaps. It tries to let you include any script in this special head component. And you can also use API routes for masking requests. So what do I mean by that? So when we come to the network tab, here. So let's say I open the network tab and I open the network here. So client-side rendering, boom. So as you can see, my request is looking pretty beautiful. It's just /API/GitHub. If you would do it as a simple API request, you will have to use entire link and show it like, and you kind of expose how the request URL looks, which is not always the thing you want to have. So how is it achieved in a code? So let me show you. I'll open my code. Boom. Okay, I'll make it smaller a little. So we come back to the pages router. So there is a specificity in the pages router. there are some special pages it may have and special directories it may have. So some of them is API folder. So this is how you can do masking of requests. So in our case, it's the API GitHub. It was looking the same in the console, as you can see. So let me refresh. So yeah. So the benefit of the pages router is that when you try to find where it has been requested from, well, you can do it pretty easily because you just need to follow the route. So you just need to open pages folder, then API, then GitHub. So let's show just that. We open pages folder, API, GitHub, pretty similar. So so what's the point of this? So when you start the Next.js server, you you run the code. Give me a second. So when you try to run GitHub code, I'm missing my words. Sorry. So when you do the request using special API folder, it's doing the masking, as you can see. And the request is running not on the client directly, but on the server. So you can store some private data here, for example, tokens. In my .env file, I have a token from GitHub, which is used here. And so you can use a pretty similar Node.js code here. So I do a request, and this is the full URL that user would have seen if you didn't use the masking. And then I get the data. So when we're using the client-side code, we just need to fetch the /api/GitHub, and it's gonna hit this endpoint here. So this is one of the benefits of Pages Router 2. So about the Pages Router itself. So let's talk about the benefits of the Pages Router. So let's say you want to create a page, whatever it can be. So for it, you just need to create a file. And this is already will be considered as a page. You don't need to use React Router. You don't need to create another separate routes. You don't need to have any matching or something like that. You can just create any page you want. So let's say I want to create RSSchool page. Let's say I want to copy this code. So it's a bit easier. I will just remove a bunch of stuff. RSSchool page and remove this one. So it's going to be really similar dummy page. So we created this file, and it's already considered a page. We can instantly check that it is true. RSSchool, which is @ and the file name RSSchool. Say enter. Oh, give me a second. Maybe I had a typo. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There's one thing. I've been using the production ready variant, so this is why it hasn't built. So let me run the dev version. So now if I try to go to our school without using the production ready build project, it's gonna work. Yeah. So it was easy as that. I just created a file, added the content, and it's already considered a page. It works literally just like magic. You don't need to go to the index file. You don't need to add any route. It just works out of the box. I think I accidentally closed the StreamYard. I'm so sorry. I never done streaming, so I might have this accidentally. Okay. Can you tell me if I'm back and if the stream has not died due to my silly mistake? I accidentally pressed the back hotkey on the browser and to close the studio, so it probably could have died. Okay, thank you very much. So this is the benefit of the Pages router, as you can see. So it is fully relying on the folder structure. But let's say we want to dive deeper. We want to do nested routes. So I have a special route just for that. So let's see, we have nested route, very deep here. Okay, so let's try to remember it. So if we want to have a nested route, we just create a folder. So this is why I called it nested. So nested route. And then I created a page. Well, I also called it RSSchool. So let's say that, RSSchool. So if you want to do a nested route, you just create a folder, and it will just work the same. So so if you need to do it very deep, you just create multiple folders and then create a TSX file. So this is really it you need to do to create a route. So this is the benefit of file-based routing. You always know where it's located, you always know where to find it, and it will always work out of the box and pretty much instantly as you save the file. Okay, so this is the client-side rendering you've been always doing, and this is the one you've been acquainted to. And if you're not using any special methods, like I was just doing, you'll not see anything new for you. So what are the best cases for client-side rendering? So the first use case is personal dashboards. Well, you don't want bots to crawl through sensitive data. So personal dashboards are very easy answer to question when to use client-side rendering. So yeah, using just Vite, you can create pretty interactive dashboards, and they will be pretty responsive. They will fit just like a charm. You can use client-side rendering for apps working with real-time data when you need to use WebSockets or anything like that. So it's pretty useful for social media, for games, and collab tools. I will not respond to that. And yeah, another use case for client-side rendering is progressive web apps. If you don't know what is this, when you enter some pages, you might have get prompt like if you want to add this app to your home screen. So this is progressive web apps. It's an apps that can work offline because they cache data, they somehow remember what you need, and it can be a pretty app that doesn't need to rely on the internet much. And yeah, I forgot to add any content you don't want to show to the internet, and to be crawled by the bots. So client-side rendering is a great fit, but not for all cases. If you want to deploy your site, you need something that Next.js offers. So let's come to that. Server-side rendering. So what's different about it? Well, the same page, pretty much, but there are just few additions. We add a special Next.js method called getServerSide props. This is the way how we tell Next.js that, hey, we want to server-side render this page. So if you're asked, in your task, make this page server-side rendered, this is how you do it. You just add getServerSide props, and you're kind of done. So I also request the stars. Yeah, we could. This is here I use full route, but we could also use /api/GitHub, and I return the props. So this is one thing that's different. The server-side page and needs to have props. So I'll show you what's different about it. But yeah, the get server-side props always returns props, and we just destructure it here and put it in our component. So let me showcase it. So let me enter server-side rendered page. Did you notice something? Let me refresh the page. So can anyone tell me what has changed, really? Compared to client-side rendered page. I can't tell if the flashing. Yes, you're right. So there is no flash of content. So why is that? Because we get these props like instantly before we even enter the page. So when we enter the page, the request before we get the even page loaded, our Next.js server is getting the data, and passes back with the page. So it's server-side rendered. Our client doesn't need to do it. Like if let's say you're doing some heavy request that is really really hard, very demanding. It has a lot of waterfalls. It requires strong internet connection. Well, now they don't have to. Well, yeah, maybe you're right. I never used PHP, but yeah, there are a lot of memes about PHP and how it was right all along. But yeah, let's continue with that. So there was no flash of content because as we click on this page, the props are getting passed through the server, and we just get back the page. So when we open this this request, you can see that. Let me zoom in. We can see that amount of stars is already there. So it's not blank. It's not filled after. It's done in the moment you enter the page. So we don't need to do it. As a client, we are forcing our server to do it. So this is one of the benefits. This is how server-side rendering pretty much works, because we get page props here in the page. So no flashes. Everything just works. Love it. And when you deploy such page, it's going to be crawled by the bot, and this content is going to be included when the bot has finished crawling through it. So you get pretty much every needed SSR benefit, every SEO benefit, and your page is gonna be crawled by the bots and show up in search results. So now you can do other SEO optimizations and try to win the algorithm battles between other sites and get your site popular. So yeah, this is one of the benefits. Okay, now let's go to static site generation. So let me come back to the production ready site. Oh, what's wrong now? Oh, oops. Wait. Give me a second. I think I screwed something. Let me make it smaller because something wrong with my site. Don't do no such file directory. This is weird. I'm pretty sure I have built this site. Okay, let's try to build it again. Maybe I missed something. PNPM. Okay, works. Cool. Let's come back to browser. Refresh. So we saw the client-side rendering and server-side rendering, the main difference between them, so to speak. So now let's touch on static site generation and what's its main difference compared to server-side rendering. So I entered the page. Well, in comparison to server-side rendering, you didn't pretty much see any difference, but there is one. So let's enter the Next.js repo and unstart it. I'll do it myself. If you want, you can do it with me. It doesn't matter. So I have unstarted. What should have happened? Well, the star amount has not decreased. But let's say I open the server-side render page. Oh, wait. The amount is different. So on static site generation, there is more, and on server-side, there is less. So how did it happen? Well, now let's talk about the static site generation. What's its difference? Oh yeah, of course. I forgot to talk about benefits of SSR. So in short, we use get server side props, everything comes on server, and it happens every single time you enter the page. So if you want, you can pretty much easily DDoS this page. If you enter this page a lot of times, you can make its owner cry because they're gonna be rate limited or anything like that, because they're gonna, every single time they're gonna hit up some third-party API and they'll make them pay for it. So this is one of the problems that we will solve. I'll talk about it later. Yeah, I'll talk about it later in the fourth rendering technique, but let's proceed. So the other benefit of server-side rendering is that the code that is used to fetch the data is code eliminated for client. So it results in smaller bundle sizes, meaning that pages is loading faster on slower devices with slower internet. So when you should use server-side rendering? Well, it's almost always used in e-commerce because, well, when we want to find some good, let's say we want to find a book about React, well, we want to get all the data, its description, its price, its rating, its title, everything like that, everything that can help us to boost our SEO score. So in e-commerce, SEO score is crucial if you want to make sales. So server-side rendering solves this problem. You also want to use server-side rendering with user-specific data when it's defined by their preferences and subscriptions. Well, you also can do it in client-side app, but the problem is it's going to be slow, it's going to take a while, and you probably want to have this data already ready for your client. So when they open your product or they open your page, they already have some recommendations served for them, and they just like grab it from your backend without the need to wait for a large request to happen. Well, and you want to use it on sites with user-generated content like Reddit and forums and anything like that, because you want to get up-to-date data each time you enter the page. So now let's talk about static site generation. So what's different here? Well, you can say the code is very much similar, except for one thing: get static props. So we're not using get server-side props, we're using get static props. The request is the same. We also pass it as props, and we also show it on page. So what is the catch? So the thing is, so there is two differences here. Let's talk about the build time and runtime. So when you open your app on your computer, you run it through localhost, and you request the data, it's happening on runtime. So what does it mean? It means that every single time you interact with page, press a button, fetch the data, it's happening at runtime. So it's happening as we speak, happening as you do it. But when you use something like static site generation, which we'll probably use somewhere in your apps, it means that it's running on build time. So you have noticed that I have used a command called npm build. So it runs, it builds a production-ready project, and let's look through the output closely. So there's an empty circle, and its empty circle is static. So the data that is happening, the data that is getting, that we get from, in our case, GitHub, is happening as we build. So when I typed build, it requested the data from the GitHub, like amount of stars, and remembered it. And it's saved, and it's no longer changing ever, unless you rebuild. So this is why when we open client-side rendering page, we see newest data, but we see flash of content. When we enter server-side rendered page, we see the newest data too, but with no flash of content. But when we enter static site a static site generated page, static page, whatever you want to call it, when we use get static props, we are getting the data that was actual on the time of building the production ready variant of our site that we deploy somewhere to the cloud. So this is why this data might not be useful. So this is the time that you don't want to use static site generation. When you want to have amount of stars shown that is relevant to your user, you do not want to use static site generation. But as I said earlier, if you're going to use just plain server-side rendering, well, you're probably going to get rate limited, you're going to have large bills or anything like that if you're depending on products that cost money. So in the next section, I'll talk you how you can combat it using another rendering technique. So as I said, it invokes your function only on build time. I hope I explained how it's different. Yeah, it's using build time. You still get all SEO benefits, and it's also gets co-illuminated, and it is the fastest and most optimized for static content. So if you want to showcase your product, like show like why are we great, why are we cool, you want to have like event page, anything like that. If you are doing blogging, documentation, if you are doing landing pages, or any other website that doesn't use frequently changing data, the static site generation is the greatest fit. It is the fastest. It doesn't load lots of JavaScript to your client. You're just getting HTML and the only stuff you need. So this is one of the benefits of Next.js 2. Now, let's come to the stuff I was talking about earlier. How do we combat the rate limiting and all this stuff? So there's incremental site regeneration. It is more advanced. You will probably don't have to use it throughout the course, but you should know about it. So how does it work? It uses get static props. Well, doesn't look different really, but there is one particular difference. Revalidate. So what you see here is special kind of prop that we pass to Next.js, and we tell them how many seconds we want to wait before getting new data. I'll show you that later down the line. So when we build the page, you can see that it says ISR 180 seconds. Cool. So what it does effectively is combining server-side rendering and static site generation. So it has best of two worlds in one, kind of. So let me show you how it works. So let's come to this page. So let's say let's decrease that number. Let's open ISR. Let's decrease it to sort of 20 seconds. I'm going to save it. I'm going to build it. PNP build. So the thing is, it also gets its data when we build it, but there is one particular difference. You will see further. So pnpm start. Cool. Okay, so let's see our current number. Okay, it's 17. Cool. So when we open ISR, it is the same. Now let's have a star, and let's reload. This haven't changed. This also haven't changed. But SSR has changed. Glycine rendering has changed. But these haven't. Well, if we wait enough, in our case, we wait for 20 seconds. After the first visit, or like the latest visit, we wait 20 seconds, and it should sometime, yes, finally. So what has just happened? We set an interval when we want to rebuild this page. So this page is static, but it's rebuilding on the fly, so to speak. So when there's a visit happening, we get our first data. Then there's time. There is a timer that is counting down. So in our case, 20 seconds. When the 20 seconds has passed, our Next.js server gets a command like, hey, it's time to rebuild this page, and this page only. So you don't need to rebuild entire site, no matter how big it is. It's just gonna rebuild the particular page, and it's gonna be also static. Well, maybe that's probably an edge case, but yeah, they might get an outdated data. But when the time has passed, look, okay, let's say we have rebuilt the site. Let's say they see this number. So yeah, so this is why it could be revalidated manually. So the approach I showed you is sort of automatic. You can do the rebuild of particular. Yeah, this is a good question. So in regards to incremental site regeneration, yeah, it's not for ecom, let's be honest. But let's imagine that we're using some sort of CMS tool, that we're using some content management system. Okay. The approach I showed you is sort of automatic. So this is the most simplest and most approachable approach. Sorry for doubling the word. But there's also if we look in the Next.js documentation, let's even find it. Why not? Sorry. Incremental static generation. So we can do it on demand. I did do this example, but let me see. How can I find it? Okay. So when we do a request through the API folder, as you can see, it's more advanced technique. You probably will not need to use it, but if you want it, you can do it. So we can tell the response object to revalidate particular path. So it can be our particular page. So if I want it, I could do res.revalidate, and I could pass this page to revalidate. So when we want, we can programmatically tell, hey, we don't want to wait 20 seconds, 20 minutes, whatever the timer you have selected. We can tell them, hey, our content management system has made an update. We have received it as an event or whatever other mean. And we tell them, hey, it's time to update the page. Rebuild it now, fast. And it does it. And it's going to work just as fine. So the difference from static site generation is that you just use a validate option with it. Everything is the same except for you build it once for the build time, and then every so seconds it rebuilds again. Option and you can do it on demand with a secret. So it happens when you need it and not anyone else. So the best cases for this advanced rendering technique is when you use CMS. This is pretty much the best case possible you want to use. Event landing sites, maybe you want to show how many tickets there are left, how many seats there are left, the price changes, anything like that. That is not really frequent. And yeah, you want to use it on the sites with infrequently changing data. So say real estate, price, recipes, or anything like that. So this is the basic use case for incremental site regeneration. So everything I showed you is also related to data fetching. So when you want to use client-side rendering, as you are always doing with Beat, I see that you probably, because of my cam, you cannot see some part. Let me remove myself. Okay. So with client-side rendering, you just use nothing. It's going to work the same, pretty much, with some of the benefits. Blocks also fit, but only if you use content management systems. Okay, so if you want to use server-side rendering, you just need to add get server-side props on whatever part of your page. If you want to use static site generation, you use get static site props. And if you want to use incremental site generation, which you probably will never have to use, but in rare cases you'll have to, you just use get static props with revalidate, or do it manually, programmatically somehow. Okay, so let me go. So to conclude, I want to say that using client-side rendering is fine. even though the Next.js is getting pushed in the React community, it doesn't mean that client-side rendering will die or we will not use it anytime soon. There are use cases for client-side rendering. You will probably rely on client-side rendering. You just, with Next.js, you can do it granularly. As you can see, my one app is using all of the 4 rendering techniques at the same time, per page, per route. So Next.js enables you to use every single possible rendering technique you need just by specifying a rendering method, render-specific method that you can use on it. So with Next.js, there also comes other great stuff. Image optimization, font optimization. It is TypeScript first. It has built-in support for environment variables. As you saw, I was able to request GitHub data with using the environment variable. And using Pages router, you can have something called custom server. If you want to look into that, and if you not want to sort of lock in to Next.js ecosystem, there is a custom server option for you to use. So you don't rely on like /API/GitHub. You can have your own custom server, say it on Express or anything like that. Okay. So now let me show you all other bits of our showcase. Next.js enables you some other features, such as dynamic. When to use which method? Well, I think I already told you. So it depends on the use case. So when your data is highly dynamic, even you can tell it real time. If you need to update it as you speak, you probably want to use client-side rendering as you will usually. If you want to get the latest data without such flash of content, with C optimizations, you want it to be crawled by robots, you want to use server-side rendering. If your data is not changing fast, if it's a blog, if it's a documentation, if it's some content that people just need to read and see it once and it won't really change, you want to use static site generation. And if you want to combine, so to speak, the server-side rendering and static site generation, it's not directly, but you know what I mean. I already showcased you. You can use incremental static generation. It is the rare use case, but if you are relying on third-party tools like content management systems, you might want to use ISR. So with these 3, you get all of the SEO benefits. With client-side rendering, you get just some part of benefits, including routing and everything like that. But yeah, this is, yeah, thank you. You too. So yeah, this is the most use cases you probably have to encounter. What kind of rendering is used for pagination? It also depends. Like you can implement pagination in client-side rendering too. You just need to, like when you fetch the data, you just need to add a request like, hey, I want to request the data from this index to this index, limited to 20 per page, anything like that. And it will also work on client-side rendering. Yeah, sure. But if you want to do it server-side rendered, well, your data, your server, your database, whatever, they need to know what you're asking for. So this is why when you can use search params and page params. So this thing that comes after question mark, something like that, equals something. So let's say question mark page. What is it? A few words about user state management with Next.js apps. Okay. So the one thing about Next.js and server-side rendering stuff, well, is that it's server-side rendered. So this is one of the parts you might encounter some really, really interesting errors that are called mismatches between client and server. It is mostly you can mostly find it when you're using like daytime or anything like that. So it can happen that the content that client sees and content that server generated might differ. So this is when you can see some errors. But generally speaking, most of the state management systems are heavily relying. Oh, what is that? Duplicate SAR and CSR machination. I don't understand. What do you mean by that? Associate 66. Maybe you answered someone's question in the chat. I guess. Okay, so let me proceed before we dive in full into questions. So there was a question about pagination stuff. So there, I think, goes slots. Yes. You can use different methods in the same app. As you can see, I have generated app. There are symbols like circle, filled circle, lambda. It means different methods. And as you can see, there are all 4 of them. So when I built the page, every single method has been used. So you just use it per route. The route in our case is a page. So it depends what you use on each page. If you're doing ISR, well, you add get static props with revalidate, and it's considered ISR. When you do it SSG, you also do get static props, but without revalidate, and now it's considered SSG. When you're doing server-side rendered page, you add get server-side props, and it's considered as server-side rendered page by Next.js. If you want, you can do nothing and do the same as you were doing with Vite and any other React app without server-side rendering out there, with use effect, fetches, and all of that. And it will be considered as just applying client-side rendered page. And they will all work at the same time without a problem. I just showcased you the demo. You saw it for yourself. It works, and it's going to work just fine. Okay. So let me come back to the stuff I have not yet touched, so we can finally finish our showcase. So there is a nested route with telling us what is the best thing in the world. Well, it's pizza, of course. If you want, it can be anything else. So let's say it's sushi. Let's be that. It can be sushi. It can be RSSchool. And it's going to just work. So how does it happen? So one of the other benefits of Pages router and router of the Next.js overall is that it can use slugs. What is meant by that? So let me zoom in. So there is something different about naming of this particular page. Its name is surrounded by square brackets. So how does it work? So this is a query. So this becomes a part of the query of Next router, and we can destructure our router query and get the best thing in the world from it, and we can include it on the page. So yeah, there was a question like how do we paginate stuff or let something change depending on the query params or anything like that. It can even depend on ID. Let's say you have some sort of size. Like let's say you have marketing e-commerce site. You can say browse products, and let's say that your products are different between IDs. So let's say we have ID of the good like that. But when they enter the page, this particular number can be passed to our route, and you can get data dynamically just by depending on the slug that comes in our router. So this is one of the way you can do it. But yeah, so if you want to have some dynamic data depending on the slug that you receive, you can do it by using square brackets in the page name. You can see more examples in Next.js docs, but I think you can get the hang of it. So one of the other benefits that comes with Next.js is a custom error page. So let's say I'll try to enter the page that doesn't exist really. Let's say it's a page called Next.js school, whatever. So this page doesn't exist. So what happens? What happens is that we hit a special page called 404 page. So in this case, I am just showing this content that page is not found. You're looking for page that doesn't exist, and go back to home. And this is another showcase I want to show you. As you can see, I have been redirected to RSSchool. So let me show you why it happened. So yeah, I have a use effect that has a timer that has a 3-second timer here. And when the timeout is passed, we are getting redirected to a page that is exposed to us via this environmental variable. So yeah, if you want to expose some environmental variables to the client that you almost never should do, but if you want, you need to prefix it with next_public_. So let me do something so you don't see my GitHub credentials. I'm gonna move it lower. Cool. So let me come back here. Okay. So yeah, if you want to expose some sort of environmental variable to a client, you just prefix it with next public. And in this case, I specified that my redirect is rs.school, and it just works. We can access it through our 404 page, and when the 3 seconds timer has passed, we are just getting redirected to our school page. So let's try again. Say error 1, 2, 3, and we enter our RSSchool page because we exposed it through environmental variable. And yeah, the thing is, the environmental variables are safe if they're not exposed. So I cannot access it by any means. So let me try to do that. Let me enter the index page. Let me try to console log it, and we'll probably see that this doesn't work. So let us do the same that we did here, like process.env. Let's try to get our can touch this variable. So it's going to happen on index page, meaning that we need to enter page 3000. Yep, let's open the console and let's refresh. Nothing happens. It doesn't get exposed. Our client never sees this variable, even though we try to console it. It just doesn't happen. Oh wait, I think it's because I'm using production. Again, give me a second. npm run def. So we are crystal clear. Doesn't happen. So let me refresh the page and undefined. So unless you prefix it, it doesn't happen. So if you replace it with this variable and refresh, yeah, it is getting exposed. You can see it twice. It is because I'm using React 18 and it has some changes in its internal structure with strict mode. So regarding that, it can like double refresh, and it's perfectly fine with behavior. It doesn't happen in production build. It is fine. You'll see it in any latest version app out there. So yep, that is, I think, all for my showcase of the Next.js as a demo. So I am open to your questions, and we can talk about what we have just on and try to. And even if I don't answer a question, I try to write it down, and we can. I'll probably try to answer you in the Discord or in Telegram. I'm mostly sitting in Telegram, so. Anyways, I'll try to find you and try to answer all your questions and try to post everything I know about it and try to guide you through the Next.js out there. So my talk was based on the talk I gave in a company. So if you want to see its text version, you can find it on my website. It is below my camera here. But yeah, I'm open to questions. Let's talk about them. So yeah, thank you. Thank you too for tuning in. Everyone has questions may stay and answer. Oh yeah, I will do an app router rep later, I think. But yeah, I'll probably will first make a post on my site, so you can, if you want, you can follow me there. And if I ever post this blog post, I will probably post a link in the Telegram. So if you're not there yet, I highly encourage you to join. We're talking a lot of React stuff out there. It is more advanced, but if you're willing to learning React, like full force, you want to be there. We have some interesting discussions in Telegram chat of RSSchool. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm reading the questions in the chat. Is the React relation used under the hood in the SSR case? The example you provided does not really showcase it. If it does, then the question about passing the initial state remains. Okay, so let's talk about hydration. So in my understanding, the hydration is sort of using the JavaScript to make the page interactive. So when you're doing server-side render page, the thing is, it is the same, really. Yeah, let me just let me add the banner. Maybe it'll help you to see. Damn it. Okay, my nickname is in the description, and I will post it in the chat right now. Yes, there I am. You can find me by this nickname pretty much everywhere you want. I'm in all the social medias out there. But yeah, let me answer the question that was has had. So yeah, in my understanding, hydration is making the page interactive. So when we're using client-side rendering, well, what happens? Request for the page. Our server is getting our JavaScript. I mean, it gets us HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It passes us first the HTML and CSS. We see the contents of the page. Cool. Now it's passing us JavaScript. So what happens? Well, we execute this JavaScript. So what React does, it populates your DOM tree with the content. And if there's some like server-side requests or something like that, it also requests for it. So when it attaches all of the event handlers, all of the interacting nitty-gritty stuff like state handler, state managers, and all of that, this is the part when your page is getting hydrated. And depending on the hardware of your user, it can happen either fast or slow. So this is a part I call hydration. So in case of SSR, it is getting server-side rendered, yes. I get you. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah, that's a good question about the hydration part. I think, yeah, hydration also happens, but we get less JavaScript that we don't need. So yeah, the hydration also happens, but for example, we can get some data via fetch request. Well, we don't need to pass it to our user. We can do the fetch request on our server. So this is the part that is not getting hydrated, not getting interactive. It has already been done. When we enter the page, we already get the data and we already pass it to our user. So the page will not really show up unless the request has been done. So yeah, all of the hydration stuff is still there, but it is sort of leveraged and code eliminated. It's code eliminated parts that are not, that we don't need to hydrate. So in this case is data fetching. So the main reason we use server-side rendering is to like simplify the data fetching and not do not load our users' device to do this, and it's not getting shipped to a user in the production build. So I hope I answered the question. I'll try to dig it further. If I have any updates on that, I'll try to show you and answer it more deeply. Okay, so What do I think about React Server components? Ooh, okay. So this is also an advanced stuff. This is why I was not talking about app router, but probably will in the future. So React Server Components is the new paradigm that came with React 18, but in experimental state. So what is that? Let me really come back to here. Yeah. So what's that? It's letting us kind of make. So you saw me showcasing the pages. So we had these specific interactions per route basis. But now, what is different? We can make separate components rendered on server and cached and do some server-side stuff just by per component level. So we're only using pages router. We are relying on the pages functionality. So we can't kind of mix and match every single rendering technique in one page. So this is one of the downsides of pages architecture, and it was not possible to extend it because, well, that is how React was working. But with React 18 release and next app router release, yeah, I'll talk about it, Hal. Give me a second. So yeah, when we talk about pages router, yeah, it has its upsides. It's used almost everywhere. Most of the projects production ready that are there are using pages router, and not everyone is betting on app router just yet. But React Server Components has its benefits, and it's changing a lot in the ecosystem. A lot of stuff just doesn't work with server components yet, and you always need to create some sort of client component. Yeah, just to be clear, client components is something that we do, something that we already do and create. Server components is something really different. So everything related to state management, and other the advanced libraries out there, they're mostly client side. And this is why we'll always need to create wrappers around it. So we need to wait while libraries adopt this and create their sort of wrappers upon server components. And when we get enough adoption, it's going to be much easier. But yeah, I like server components concept. The main difficulty with server components is that they're heavily reliant on caching, and there's also a lot to understand there. But yeah, it lets us do something that was never achievable before, and it's more granular level of interactivity. Something can be rendered like a shell server side, and something can be interactive. I would like to show you the examples, like why won't I do it, really? So I think if I open your documentation here, oh, not this one. Okay, so I think they're going to showcase it really early. Give me a second. They don't show it here. Give me a sec. They had this beautiful graphic, but I don't. Oh, yeah, I found it. So when we're talking about server components, let's talk about this particular part. So let's say this part of the page is static. It can stay static. It can be loaded almost instantly. And this part of the page is dynamic. We are fetching it. We are waiting for it. So we want to show this shell instantly. And this is what server components lets us do. We can define each component to be server component or not. And let's say this one is server component, and this one can be streamed somehow. And this is the part when our page gets faster, lower in size, and our user gets almost SPA-like experience with it. So this is the part what server components enable us to do. And it was hard to do without it, but yeah. So now let's go on to the question of the how. We use outlet in a task if there's no analog in Next. To be honest, I have not used React Router 6. I guess this is the one that has introduced outlet, but I was reading your chats, and yeah, I saw that you have this question. So so in this case, you can use a layouts kind of approach, a layout pattern. So you can have a component that is representing your overall layout, and that has most of the components you need, something like navbar, footer, sidebar, anything like that. And everything else can be rendered as a children. So when you switch between pages, well, navbar and footer, well, in this example, they stay, but the content changes. And this content can be your pages. So as you can see, we can have an app. Yeah, there's an also special file called app. Let me show it to you. Next talk. Okay. So there is _app special sort of file. So what it does, it applies something to every single page. So in our case, we can apply a layout. Let's actually do it right now. Why not? So let's add, oh, not here. Web components front end is only needed to make it. Yeah, the line is getting blurred. So this is how, like the front end developers that are starting to adopt and use Next.js, they are slowly becoming full stack engineers, so to speak. Not fully, but yeah, some part of backend come to front end, and it can be collocated in a single repo, which can simplify some of the processes. Okay, so let's come back to the part of the outlet. So let's say, no, I don't want to create it here. I want to create it here. Nice. Okay, so let's say we have a component, and we say we have a layout. Let's actually get this example here. Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Yes, I forgot. Totally forgot. Sorry. Done. Okay. So nothing really changed. I just created components folder. It can be really anywhere, but not in pages folder. So I created components. I just copied and pasted stuff from here. So I don't have any navbar and footers ready for you. So let's imagine that this is a footer and whatnot. So let's say it's footer here, and let's say the navbar here. I'm not going to do much studying here, but we'll just see how it works. So I created a layout component. It's a children. We're not going to do TypeScript stuff here. So we enter _app special file here. So now we need to import it to layout. Cool. And yep. So now we use a layout approach, and we just use a component here. This component is sort of like any page that we pass here, and it's going to have some page props. It's the default props. You will see it in docs. So, okay, now I have it in my dev. So as you can see, on top of the page, header here, footer here. So now let's enter really any page. Let's let it be the best thing in the world. As you can see, header here and footer here never disappeared. They're always there. So I can open any page and the layout persists. So I guess this is how you can replace your outlets. You just create your shell that is going to be, well, the same for all of the pages, okay, so to speak, and it's going to just work. If you want to somehow change it, change the shells, I guess you can do it when you're matching the routes. You can look in this approach further, but generally speaking, you have _app. You can use layout, and depending on use case and depending on your scenario, you might want to use different layouts out there. So yeah, so this is your outlet. I suppose the outlet is something component or page that you show. So I guess that was your outlet. I'm not sure. As I said, I didn't use it. But yeah, this is probably what you want to use. Everything higher than page is static SSR. It can be SSR. It should be per task. Well, it's fine. If it doesn't, if you don't need to SSR it, you just don't. You can make it static if you want. I mean, we can show your task. Let's see. So you create a separate branch. Cool. Migrate the app to Next.js, retain the functionality. My personal recommendation is to just use like create next app that comes in the docs. You will probably have much easier time just copy pasting your code to the next JS and then copy pasting it entirely. We need everything. No, you don't. Oh, I see. You must enable server running for all ages. I saw that. Give me a sec. Look at the points that you receive. All pages with state receive it via get server-side props. So if your page is stateless and doesn't have anything related to state that you get somehow from the backend or anything like that, you don't need it. You just don't do it. I guess it's just the problems with the wording that was selected. But yeah, if you don't have props on your page, if it's blank, if it doesn't depend on anything, don't do it. You don't need to do it, really. No need to parse a method that you won't use. Just don't do it. And if you are uncertain, just ask a question. Maybe they will change. What if this logic is inside component? What do you mean by that? I mean, it would be easier if I could see any of your repos. I was not provided with any repo, to be honest. Like, if you're talking about this fetching data, I guess this is what you're talking about. Well, you just lift it up and put it in server-side props. So I just lifted it up here, and it just works, I guess. I might need a more concrete example, but yeah. I mean, a fetch inside component, not on page. Oh, two. Okay, that's different. Okay, so in that, well, it depends on case, really. But okay, let's say you're fetching it from the component. Okay, let's say you have a component that somehow depends on data fetching. Well, I will not able to do a quick example of it. Okay, let's say you're doing data fetching here. Well, you just lift it up. Like, make your component not depend on it. So let's say you use it on sort of page. Like, let's say you use like yeah, as far as I know, down below here there's an example with React Toolkit query and with Next.js usage. So I think it needs some changes. There are even the docs. Yeah, you need some special wrappers, and that does with hydration. So remember, I was talking about special hydration error. So yeah, this stuff like state managers is one of the most biggest pain points regarding to server-side rendered stuff. And you either do some workarounds with hydration. So there's a page. So page has different states, like when it was loaded, hydrated, and then you can use your state management. When you're not using such wrappers that are provided to you, or if you're not using special like use effect and other sort of magic, it will break apart. Because let's say you have a cart. You have a cart icon. It has its goods, items, costs, price, whatever, and it's saved in your local storage or whatever you want. Let's say it's local storage. So it's saved somewhere in your state management system. So when you enter the page, server does not know about it. It has nothing to do with your state management systems. It doesn't know about it. It's gonna pass you the generic data, and it will not know about your cart contents, so to speak. So if you try to compare your client page and the server page, and they're getting compared between each other, you're gonna receive some nasty hydration error. Let me show you. Yeah, text content does not match server rendered HTML. This is one of the worst errors you can get. This is awful. You're gonna probably have to bash your head around to fix it if you have never encountered it. But yeah, this is one of the most common errors you will get while trying to build server-side rendered app. So this is why React RTK query provides you with this special wrapper, so you don't have to do it yourself. So just scroll down the page of your module, and you'll see the example and the documentation of that. So yeah, all of this stuff that is mostly client-side related will still work in Next.js, no matter what you use, like rendering technique, be it server-side, static, whatever. But you'll probably need to play around with some wrappers or workarounds so it doesn't come in conflict with the server content, and you will not receive this nasty error. So yeah, everything can work with Next.js. You just have to use some established practices for avoiding such errors. So yeah, about Juhal, yeah, you should probably just lift up the fetching the fetching itself, because well, you don't show users a component, you show users the page. So let's imagine you have a page where this component is exclusively used. So you just say, hey, page, fetch the data, and then you receive the results through props and pass it to your component. So it will behave the same, but you will have the benefits of server-side rendering. So just as like with props, try to lift the state, but here you lift the fetching. How we can pass query params into SSR requests, for example, get new data after submit form. Okay, this is a specific question. What do you mean by get new data after submit form? I'll try to understand you. Let me imagine this. Pass query params to request. Well, okay. So regarding the first question, it is pretty much answerable. So we use pages router. Yeah, if you're looking in Next.js docs, always select the pages router because you will get because they're pretty much different. So we have get source of props. Cool. Let me see if there's an example and I can show you. I guess I can't. No problem. So we can use pages router. Slug. Maybe there's an example of query params. Well, I mean, it's not exclusive to Next.js. You can really do it in any way. Like, okay, so there is an MDN search params. I mean, okay, Next.js pages router search params. So as far, oh, you have search params. Cool. Oh no, damn it. It's an app router. Give me a sec. It's probably an answered stuff. So yeah, it all comes down to user router hook, which has a lot of like simplifications of it. So there's stuff called URM search params interface that you can use by default, but you better just use router object. So you can get the data from path name, query, whatever it is. So you can pretty much get the data you want. It's strange there is no such examples here. Oh, wait. Damn, the old Next.js is something. Okay, so as I already said, you can always do something through search params. I just can't find the example into my head, but you just can destructure your link as you could always do with your vanilla JavaScript, and destructure it through object and get the data you need. And then let's say, okay, let me even open the code. Let's go to the GitHub. Let's say you have some sort of const search params. Well, there's Kapali helping me a little, but what else? So usually, as you would do without relating to Next.js router hook, you can just destructure your URL that comes after question mark, and you will get a whole object. And let's say your search params has something like page num and limit, for example, and it's going to destructure from search params. So how we would do it if you were using like a sort of backend or anything like that. So let's say we're doing it as a template string. Yeah. We can, depending on backend and API that you use, it could be very different. But yeah, in general sense, you can destructure it from the client, then pass it to the server as we do it here. And then we can just search like page num equals to $sign page num, and then press and limit equals to limit. I mean, it's a general example. It will not work, of course, but in a general sense, you can just parse search params using Next.js's hook, use router, or just to structure it as a search params and pass it using sanitized search params from this search params object. However you call it, however you destructure it, you can just pass it in a template string. Easy as that. I mean, your question is pretty much specific. I think I could answer it if I had the code to look at, but yeah, in a general sense, you do that, or you use built-in Next.js APIs and routers to handle this. And regarding new data after submit form, well, it also depends on the page you have and how it's rendered. For example, if it's server-side rendered, well, you can just ask router to reload the page. So let's say you press submit, you have some sort of submit handler, you do some stuff, you await something, whatever it is, and then you can use router hook that comes with next router and tell it to reload the page. And it's going to work. It's going to reload the page the same you're staying on. Let's say, or you can even tell it to redirect you somewhere with router push. You can just tell them, hey, let's go to this page after we submit the form, and it will do it. So use router hook is one of the most useful hooks you will have in Next. So if you need to do something specific with changing the page, reloading the page, anything like that, you want to use it, like just take a look at its APIs. You'll find a lot of useful stuff in it. So even let's say you have sidebar that, let's say you select a page, like look at this. You select this page and it's highlighted in blue with this beautiful blue line. So how it's done? Well, you need to know what your current page is, and your best bet is to use router hook, and it's gonna let you access like the current page, and it's gonna see, so this is a current page. Let's color it, and it's gonna color it in another color and use different styles, whatever you want. So try look ahead on this particular API page, and you're probably gonna find lots of answers here. So yeah. Okay, any other questions? Maybe there's something on Discord. Let me see. I'm just never really checked the Discord. In the live streaming channel, there's nothing. What else? Is there anything in Next.js channel? No, nothing. Okay. So I'll try to gather up links that I have showcased you, so you don't have to find it. I'll just post them in Next.js channel in both English and Russian and whatever we have here. So we'll just have a high speed on React Next.js channels. I'll post the links that we were looking through today. So if you saw something and if you didn't remember, don't want to know where I was looking at for, I will just give you all the links from my browser history, and you will find everything you want. Yeah, thanks a lot for staying here. I'm gonna stay for 2 or 3 more minutes. If there's gonna come any question, like if you have, ask it. I'll answer it if you want. Just ask it. If no questions come in 3 minutes in YouTube chat, I will stop the stream and we will say goodbyes. Yes. So yeah. Oh, by the way, so as I said, my talk was based on existing talk that I gave at the company. So if you don't want to look through the stream, if you don't have time, if you want to dive in on more extensive sort of version of it, if you want to see the demo even, there's also a link to my demo right here. It's a public repo. You can use it and even look at the README file. It's a full-blown tutorial that shows you how it was created, how it works, how the nested routes work, dynamic routes, how components are used, and everything like that. Like, I will also post it in the chat. But yeah, if you want to read, if you don't want to look through everything of that, I also told at my company how create React app died and why, and it was a good it was a good talk at my company, and how we came to Vite that you are using. So yeah, before Vite, you would use Create React App, and it's a miserable time. But yeah, if you want to appreciate the new stuff that you now have and use, you want to know how it was in the past. So yeah. So yeah, there's my blog right here. Like, it's a full-blown explanation, bunch of links, bunch of information, and I will also give it to you in the chat, I guess. So yeah, let me post it in the chat. So my current webinar was fully based off of that. So if you don't have any questions, I guess we can stop the stream. So thank you for staying here, and well, have a great night. Enjoy learning Next.js. Learn Next.js, build with Next.js, and explore other stuff like a browser, but we'll do it later. It will come with time. Thank you for staying. Goodbye. Have a nice night.